Hello all, my name is Patrick Lusick, and during this presentation, I will be discussing emotions and faith and how they influence one another through the theory of knowledge curriculum and the different areas and ways of knowledge that are discussed in the course.
Let's start with the real life situation first. My source for this article was Fox News and it was under the opinion section. And the article is entitled, "I'm Glad That Lady Forced a Bible on Me." And basically, to sum it up, this man was on his way to work when these group of women stopped him and forced him to take a Bible. He said he had already had a Bible, but they made him take it anyway. So the Bible now was in his hands and it sat at his home for months, till his wife one day said, "You have to get rid of it." So on his way to work, he took a different route this time, and he came across a young mother who asked, "Is that a Bible in your hand?" He said, "It is." She said, "Can I have it?" Of course, he replied, "Yes." So he gave her the Bible. This made them both really happy, and in turn led to a conversation between the two of them where they discussed how everything happens for a reason and good things happen to people who believe in a higher power. Now, in this instance, they both happen to be Christian, but this could happen to anyone. And through this, it just shows how, by doing this one little action and how they both believed in a higher power, that it made them happy. And later, I'll discuss how it can lead to other emotions besides just happiness. My knowledge issue is, how are emotions influenced by faith? The definition of emotions: a natural instinctive state of mind from one's circumstances, mood, or relationship with others. That's pretty self explanatory. So it's just how we feel in the moment that we're in due to our surroundings and our mood and different things. We'll go into that again at a later time. There are two definitions for faith. This first one I'm going to focus on now, and I'll come back to the second one at the end of the presentation. Faith: a strong belief in God or in the doctrines of religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. Now, in theory of knowledge, the two ways of knowing I'm focusing on right now are emotion and faith. And the bigger picture, the area of knowledge, is religion. Now, with emotion, there's instinctual emotion and conscience emotion, which again I will go into later. And again, with faith, there's trust versus religion. For the next two slides, I'm going to be focusing on religion. However, in the last slide, we'll go back to trust, and I think you'll see why once we go back there.
Even like this picture says, faith is like Wi-Fi, it's invisible, but it has the power to connect you to what you need, showing that it's not just, faith isn't just religion, it's also, like I'll say later, is a strong trust in something. And like it's everywhere, it's all within your mind. So it's in the same place as emotions, both in our minds. So that can also be shown, how I'll describe later, can be intertwined to one.
My first claim is that faith has no effect on our emotions. Now, like I said, I'm first going to be focusing on the religious point of view. So there is no higher power in the world. That means there's no God or anything to guide you. So you don't really have anything, is you only have yourself. So that way, only our emotions can be made by our own self, and they are not predetermined by anyone else. Emotions are determined by situations we are put in and our outlook on life. Like I said, everyone's put in different situations. Some good, some bad. But my good situation could be your bad situation. So we're going to show different emotions based on how we perceive the situation. And through science, emotions are created by our personality and chemical balances. To scientists, emotions are just patterns of recognition signals. So this brings into the area of knowledge of science and how there is just chemicals in our body that help bring out our emotions based on our experiences and how we are feeling in our mood.
Also, another more scientific definition of an emotion is a neural impulse that moves an organism to action, prompting automatic reactive behavior that has been adapted through evolution as a survival mechanism to meet a survival need. So that shows how all animals seem to have emotions, and obviously all animals can't have faith that we know of. So it shows how it's not faith isn't influenced by emotions or vice versa because they are two separate things and should not be confused or made as one.
The next claim is that faith influences our emotion. This would mean that there is a higher being in life, and that higher being does control what happens to us. Just like in the story, everything happens for a reason. Now, theory of knowledge does see religion as an area of knowledge and sees faith as a way of knowing. And I agree. But let's just decontextualize that and look deeper into it. And I have a great example of that. This past Sunday, Palm Sunday, while at church, I was listening to the sermon. And it was about how if for the next week you went to all the masses and prayed, the preacher said in writing that he could guarantee you that God would help solve your problems. Now, is this true? Because through this it brought out many emotions within me. It brought out anger. Because for years I've been going to church. And I do believe that he has helped me because my life could be a lot worse, but it's not. It also brought sadness. Because how do I know that this is true? And then it brought curiosity as how do I know this is what's going to happen? So just through that simple sermon, it brought out three different emotions within me.
Another aspect to think about is, and again, this is just strictly with religion, and regardless of what religion you choose, it could still happen that people may become so caught up in the path of faith that they choose to follow that it may affect their judgment, which in turn would affect their emotion because they may, relate to stories in their religion to their own lives and then act like how whoever was in the story how they acted. So through that, it's also a way to show that faith influences our emotion because people can just get so caught up and so concerned with how that story went to make it almost like their own. So it can show how it's just different for everyone, and depending upon how closely you follow your faith can change the way you feel and change your emotions.
Now, in conclusion, I believe that faith does influence our emotion. And that's when we're going to go back to the second definition of faith: complete trust or confidence in someone or something. Now, with this, it's not just religion, it's anything. So, through many different things, I believe that they bring out our emotions. And yes, our emotions are just chemical balances within us and are made up of many different things, such as our mood, our situation, and so on. However, without trust or confidence in anything, how can we show anything? So what I'm trying to say is that without emotion, how can we show trust or confidence?
Or even without emotion, how are we able to show really a trust or love or strong like for anything? Because without emotion, how are we able to express ourselves? Although we can express ourselves through words and writing in different forms like that, emotions are really what we use to show how we feel. And even through writing and everything like that, we're still able to show our emotion. So without emotion, how do we show if we have faith in something, whether it be just a strong trust or a trust to a higher being in religion? Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.